Hi, everyone. This is the lesson that you have been waiting for. Priscilla Hauser is here, and we are just so excited to have her teaching today. We have a whole bunch of you waiting for this class, and I know you're all so excited, and we're going to give you all a few minutes. And I just realized that you're all seeing my board instead of me. There I am. So I volunteered to be a guinea pig for Miss Priscilla, and so I'm all set up, and I've got my apron on tonight. So we also have the wonderful Elizabeth Stahl with us, and we're so happy to have her. Elizabeth is a brilliant artist, as you know, and she's one of our admins, and we're so grateful to have her here tonight. So Elizabeth will be watching for your questions and let us know what's going on. I will also, if I'm not working on the lesson with Priscilla, I'll be looking for your questions also. And so I'm going to spotlight Miss Priscilla right now, and because she wants to talk to you for a few minutes. So Priscilla, it's all yours.
Well, hello, everybody. As I started every workshop I ever taught that way, I am so glad to be with you. You're going to have patience with me. This is my very first time to do anything like this and working from my home. And I just want to say a big thank you to Debbie, who made this all possible, and to my web person, Breen, who just about had a nervous breakdown before we started trying to get all this going. So I know I'm not looking at the camera, but where in the heck is the camera, Breen?
It's right here.
That little hole right there. Is that right?
Yeah.
But I'm looking at that hole and it looks like I'm looking up. Anyway, I guess it doesn't matter as long as you can see what's going to happen down here. Now, Debbie, the piece behind me, can they see that quite well?
Yes.
Okay, can we come any closer to it?
No.
Well, Debbie. I love it. Okay, all right. That is an original Peter Hunt piece. It's loaded with beautiful, beautiful brush strokes. And our lesson tonight is all about brush strokes and how we use brush strokes to create wonderful, wonderful things. So I'm going to start in here in just a minute, but Breen, can you open the doors of that piece behind me? Because I want them to see the panels on the inside. And then I have another Peter Hunt piece. Now I can't see, Debbie. I can't see what I'm showing them here, where my hands would be. Can you get that up on the screen for me? Debbie?
Hang on, Priscilla.
Liz?
I, I was busy trying to help our guest find you. So, so what I'm seeing right now is,
Yay, there we go. And I've got
well,
to,
I just replaced it with me. So hang on 2 seconds.
okay. There we go. And
There
I've
we
got
go.
to learn how to move it to keep it on. All right. You're looking at Peter Hunt's original brush strokes, comma strokes, S strokes, all kinds of things. He painted this piece in 1949. And Peter Hunt was, I feel, responsible for really bringing folk art as we know it, not early American decorative painting, but folk art as we know it into the United States. He was good friends of Helena Rubinstein's, and he wined and dined with the best of them. He was quite a character, and he didn't often tell the truth. And if any of you are interested, I hope one of these days that Debbie would let me do a whole program on Peter Hunt because I have some wonderful pieces, and it's a very primitive style of painting, but a very wonderful style of painting. Now, before, can they see me or just my hands, Debbie?
Now they're seeing you. Do you want me to switch it back to you, Miss Priscilla?
I'll tell you, baby, when to switch.
Okay.
Before we start, I want to say to all of you that I have always taught, I have always said there's so many ways of right, not just one, but many, many ways. And in my 66 years of teaching, and I can't believe that myself, I think I said in a little promo, Debbie wiped off the cobwebs and said, Priscilla, come on, you like to rock, and I do. So I always said to seminars that I come to teach you what I find to be the easiest way. But we have so many fabulous teachers out there today doing wonderful things. And at this point, I want to mention two of my children, Andy Jones and Chris Williams, and Phil Meyer is in there too. And now I've got Debbie added to that bunch. And Phil, not Phil, well, Phil started with me, I think, about 12. Andy started at 12, Chris at 14. And so I've been part of the Plaid family for almost that many years too, for sure. And was in on the design of the brush basin and helped Jim Stanley, one of the incredible paint chemists, do lines of paint and the blending gel and the floating medium. I want to teach all of you that want to learn so much about these wonderful, wonderful products and how to use them. So Debbie and Breen and everybody who's watching. Oh, and Janet. Janet lives in Pocahontas, Arkansas, and she does all my computer work. In other words, that's who you're talking to when you go to my website. I don't know what I'd do without her. So all of these people have made this possible. Oh, this makes me happy because now I have a big picture of the Peter Hunt work behind me. And that won't be distracting when I'm painting, though. That mirror won't be distracting. Okay, again, forgive me. I'm learning about all of this. Okay, the first thing that I want to talk to you about is a flat brush. And this is a flat brush. And your brush is your most, I'll find my way here in a minute. Your brush is your most important tool when you're painting. If you don't have a good brush, you're not going to paint well, and you're not going to do lovely brush strokes. That's for sure. People always want to know what kind of brush. There's so many wonderful brushes out there on the market. But when I shop for brushes, I really want to look at my brush and want to be sure that all the hairs line up perfectly. And that's so important in a few minutes when we get to the round brushes. A round brush is a very difficult brush for the brush maker to make. And so you've got to be really picky about choosing your brushes. But I'm going to start first of all with the flat brush. Okay, kids, there are two partners which equal beautiful painting. One of the partners is brushstroke work, and the other partner is blending. And there's all kinds of different ways to blend. In the world of painting, we have what we call skills. And in February, right around Valentine's Day, now, Breen, I'm looking, oh, here they are. Right around Valentine's Day, Debbie has asked me to teach my roses. And I want you, all of you that have always wanted to paint a brushstroke rose, I want you to learn to paint them. So I'm going to actually give you a homework assignment when I finish this lesson. Used to be, in order for anyone to come to my rose seminar, they had to do 100 basic roses on tracing paper. That qualified them to get into the seminar. And then they had to paint 100 of these roses when that time came around. And of course, I got to teach you to paint beautiful blended leaves as well. Okay, I'll quit talking. You're probably glad about that one. And Breen, do you want to hand me the piece I have on the easel there? Now, if I move my camera, good. Okay, this is a little, I call it a little tavern sign. I was looking for something that would be quick for you and easy for you because I wanted to spend most of my time teaching you and Debbie brush strokes. And so I just put a few little strokes together to do this. In your packet, I gave you another pattern too, and I did the painting on all of this. And instead of the ball flower form, I've got a tulip flower form on this. And so I'm going to demonstrate that. All that is a couple of S strokes, and you can see the S strokes and the comma strokes here. And it's great to practice these on illustration board or poster board or watercolor paper or whatever you have. Then I hope I have time to show the antiquing for those that need it. Okay, I'm working on the Masterson's Stay Wet palette. I'm going to bring that palette over here, and I'm going to start with a little bit of red. Usually I mix my paint. Oh, one more thing I want to tell you, keep a piece of paper and a pencil kind of handy. And when I say, write that down, please write it down. Take a few notes because it will be very helpful to you as we go along. All right. One of the most important things in the world of painting is consistency. And I love to scream that out. Consistency is everything. And when we're doing brushstroke work, the paint has to be a very thin flowing consistency. This is just a little needle nose bottle, and you might want to make a note of that. And usually I mix my paint on a big piece of glass and then move it to my palette. If you are ever in a class with me and I come around and you have a plastic palette knife, I'm going to take it and break it in two and throw it away. And I'll replace it, of course, with a good flexible steel palette knife. Now, many years ago, when I was auditioning for public television, and I had a show on public television, as you all probably know, for a number of years, along with Bill Alexander and Gary Jenkins and all of the wonderful Saturday morning artists. And when I mixed the paint for stroking to the consistency, I would call it bird dung, D-U-N-G. Mix it to the consistency of bird dung. Well, when public television told me that they wanted me to do a show, KOCE in Huntington Beach, they said, but there's only one thing, sweetheart. I said, what is that? And they said, please call the consistency for stroke work blessings, bird blessings. So that's where that came from. And you want to have it so thin that it just drips and runs off of your palette knife. Here's another little tip. I always have the least expensive baby wipes that I can find, and I use a lot of them. I usually put a little bit of alcohol in them too, because alcohol cuts right through the acrylic paint. Now, I want to talk to you, and I hope you all will pick up now and look at a flat brush. And I want to talk to you about the parts of the flat brush. This is a flat surface. When I turn the brush to the other side, this is a flat surface. The two corners of the brush are just simply called the corners or the chisel corners. This edge, this wonderful edge, some people will call it the chisel edge. I call it the flat edge. And when you're painting on the flat edge of your brush, your handle will point straight up towards the ceiling and you don't put much pressure on the brush. All right. Now, I also want to talk to you about filling the brush, and then I want you to do this here in just a minute. I'm touching my water, which you can't see. I'm blotting on a soft absorbent rag. I love to go to garage sales and buy diapers that people are selling and bring them home and wash them. That's my favorite kind of a rag, except I think I put Viva Job Squad in business about 40 years ago because I love the absorbency of them. That absorbency is very important. Now, look how I'm bouncing the brush in the paint, like so. Then I'm going to come over. Let me see if I can get this in the picture so that you can see. I have a piece of old Tricloth wash rag here, and I'm just going to kind of blot on my rag. I'll move this out of the way. And then I have a piece of poster board right here. And I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to make the roof of a house like that. Now, you saw my shaky line, and I'll just, maybe you can, I'm trying to find the right spot here. Debbie warned me that I needed to really pay attention to bring it in this close, but I want you to see it so close. Okay. I don't know how to say this nicely, so I'll just say it. Thank you, God, that I do not have Parkinson's. I have a benign palsy, and as I have so gracefully aged, the palsy has gotten much worse. It's not because I'm nervous, but I don't pay attention to it. I just ignore it. And most of the time I paint pretty well anyway. So that's the only time I'll mention it, but I wanted you to know that. Okay, now I'm going to put that flat brush down on the roof of the house. I'm going to touch, I'm going to apply pressure, and I'm going to start to pull and lift, pull and lift, pull and lift, pull and lift, and drag to a point. I'm going to try to make a better adjustment here. Let's see. This is my little finger there. So if I come over here, don't let me knock things off the table there, Breen. Trying to get this right in the middle. Okay, so let me come over here to the other side. Now notice that I have turned this so that I'm comfortable. I'm going to touch, apply pressure, start pulling and pulling and lifting and lifting and lifting and lifting and drag right up to the chisel edge to form a point. And those are called commas to the left and commas to the right. Now, let me show you what many people do. They put that brush down, they touch, they don't press, they pull, and they lift and drag to a point. How many of you do that? I wish I could hear you because I know that a lot of you do. And now, to avoid that, if you'll put that brush down kind of on the corner and then press from the corner, you'll actually round the top of that stroke. It's so much better if you do it faster and get into a rhythm. That one wasn't good. That's the shaking hand of the brush strokes. There we go. Now, I hope you can see it, but I am pulling from my shoulder. I am not pulling in my fingers like this. You won't get a pretty stroke if you do that. You move from the shoulder. I know you can see my hand and my arm, but I pull back from the shoulder when I paint this brush stroke. It's very, very important to do that. Okay, now, do you have your paint mix, Debbie?
I do.
Was that a yes?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you fine.
Okay. Yes, I have it mixed, and I've been making all kinds of terrible comma strokes.
Okay. Now, I'm going to put a piece of tape on the handle of my brush, and this is the way I got students to keep from twisting and turning the brush, because there's no, when I do the comma stroke, again, I'm hunting here to try and find my place. There's no waving of the flag. There's no twisting or turning of the brush. It's touch, apply pressure, lift, and drag to a point, pulling from the shoulder. Touch, press, lift, and drag to a point, pulling from the shoulder. Touch, press, lift, and drag, pulling from the shoulder. No waving of the flag.
I'm waving the flag.
Okay, no turning of the brush. Can we see you do it, Debbie?
Oh, here goes public humiliation.
No.
Okay, hang on.
Pull from the shoulder.
This is
Okay.
this is what I've been doing.
Or a square head, Debbie.
I just can't get it. So anyway,
Yeah, you can get it. Yes, you can. Now look, Debbie, look, I've dropped to a smaller brush.
okay, hang on. I'm going to switch and replace you as the spotlight.
Many of you are square heads.
Oops. Hang
I
on.
know. I cannot see my,
Okay.
there.
So a smaller brush would be better for me.
No, I was painting with a very large brush. No, I dropped to a much smaller brush. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so what you do, and I hope everyone can see this, and when I try to do it in slow motion, I shake. Okay, I just kind of put the corner of the brush down, just the corner of the brush down. And then when I press, I just kind of round up. Can you see the brush kind of rounding up across the top? And then start lifting and dragging and lifting and dragging to form that point. I don't touch pull. That gives you the square head. I press up just slightly, lift and drag to a point. All right, touch on the corner, Debbie.
Hang on.
And you all do this right along with Debbie. These brush strokes are so important.
Okay, Priscilla, I want to show you what I'm doing.
Okay. I can't see, Debbie.
I know. It takes a few seconds here, Miss Priscilla. Okay, so when I put my brush down like that, I'm getting more of a rounded top, but then I don't know what to do. So like you're saying, start with the corner, press down like that, press.
Start lifting and dragging, lifting and dragging. Lifting and dragging.
But then I don't know which way to go.
To the inside edge of your brush.
To the inside. Okay, so I'm going to have you show me that.
The outside edge, to the inside edge of your brush.
Okay, I'm going to have you show me again.
All right.
I hope you all are enjoying this. I have never learned how to do strokes.
All right. I went back to my great big brush.
Okay.
All right. This is the inside edge, Debbie. Touch, press, lean to the inside edge, pull, lift, 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 drag, 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 drag to the point and push up. You don't want to be a hooker. This is a hooker. Lots of people are hookers. They hook a stroke like that. Could you see me make that stroke?
Okay, I think I'm doing it backwards.
Are you left-handed?
No, but my brain is like a lefty. It's weird.
Okay.
Okay.
Touch on the corner. But then you put the brush down, but just let the top edge of that brush roll up slightly and then pull, Debbie, from the shoulder, lifting, 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 lifting to the flat edge and dragging. That looks like a hook, but it isn't, because I'm painting upside down to most of you. I think the next time we do this, we'll need to relocate the camera and have it coming over my shoulder.
Okay. I'm going to show you what I just did.
Okay.
The one that I like is this one right here. Is that right?
It's perfect.
Okay. I think I
Do
got it.
another. Do another one.
one. Right now in front of everybody?
Absolutely.
I don't know if I remember how.
Touch. Push up just slightly. Start pulling from the shoulder, lifting and drag, drag, dragging up, Debbie. That's beautiful. The best that I can see it. It's beautiful.
Okay, hang on. But I was not pulling from my shoulder. I was resting my arm.
I know. You have to learn to pull from the shoulder, and I'll show you why here in a minute. Oh, gorgeous.
See, but then that failed. So that part's nice.
That's fine. You can put your hand down to steady. That's okay. And you can put your little finger down too. But when you put that little finger down, you still have to be free to move from the shoulder. You can't, my little finger's down now, but I usually don't paint with a little finger down. It gets in my way, but you have to pull from the shoulder. It looks like I'm hooking, but it's the angle of the camera.
Yeah, it does help to have my hand resting a little.
Okay, so what I want you all to do, here is your first little homework assignment. This one isn't as important as the next two that are going to do roses with me, but put down the roof of the house. Good grief, where's the roof? There it is. Put down the roof of the house and then touch, press, lift, and drag. And reverse it. Fill that brush with paint, stroke in the paint, and touch, press, lift, and drag to a point. Yeah, I think next time we're gonna locate that camera completely differently, because I'm painting upside down for you all, and that doesn't work. But do many of those brush strokes, and I'd love for you to do 2 or 3 pages of those brush strokes. Okay, now the next stroke I want you to learn is an S stroke, and I'm going to have to pull the camera up, or the handle of my brush will hit the camera. So I hope that I'm still in focus here. And for an S stroke, stand the brush on the flat or the chisel edge, and the handle points straight up towards the ceiling. I'm looking for an angle where you can see better. Then slide, gradual pressure, gradual lift. Fill that brush with that flowing paint. Slide, press, and gradually lift back up to that chisel edge. This is an S stroke, and you need to learn to do S strokes that go both directions. And by that, I mean one that angles this way, and then one that angles the opposite direction. And then on the chisel edge, there's a line stroke, and I'll fill the brush. And here is another great big S stroke. And here's another line stroke. And then I'll come over here and make 2 or 3 comma strokes. And just very, very quickly, with just those few brush strokes, we have a little pin Dutch tulip flower form that we've done. So the flag doesn't wave on the S stroke either. I'm going to come way up and see what happens.
Miss Priscilla, while you're doing that, we had a question.
Yes,
They want to know what you're thinning your paint with.
water.
Okay.
Just water is all I'm using. I have this little needle nose bottle, and I just took my little palette knife and thinned the paint with water. So I was hoping that you could see that the flag didn't wave. I was trying to find the spot here where I could do brush strokes and the flag didn't wave.
Do you reload your brush with every stroke?
No, and that's an excellent question. Not every stroke. And you shouldn't have to if you have a good brush and if your paint is thinned to the correct consistency. But I bounce the brush in the paint so that the brush is really good and full of paint that is that flowing consistency. And I still don't think you can see the flag, but it's just slide, press, and lift.
Yes,
Slide.
we can see your flag on the brush.
Okay, and it's not waving. And that is beautiful, beautiful S stroke. And I'll try to do something. I hope you can see it. And since I have that camera elevated now, I love to do ribbon with the flat brush. Let's see, where can I? I'm going to start up here and come down, and I think you'll be able to see what I'm doing in just a minute. Gradual press, gradual lift, gradual press, gradual lift, gradual press, gradual lift. And that is just a continued S stroke that flows and makes ribbon. Oh, it's so much fun when you know brush strokes, because you can twist and turn that brush and roll it and make beautiful bows. And when I double load that, oh, I'm off camera again, I think.
Lisbeth,
Yes.
if you see that people have questions, go ahead and ask Priscilla, because I'm busy here looking, trying to do what Priscilla's doing, miserably failing. But I saw that someone did ask if these strokes were needed for the roses.
The S stroke is needed for the rose. Comma strokes are needed for the rose. And I'll put the rose back up here, and I don't know. Here, we're going to tear this page off. Now bring this down close again so that you can see. This is what we call a rolled S stroke right here, where the brush is rolled. These are all variations of comma strokes in here that you see. This is an S stroke that fits right in at the bottom. Bring, hand me that worksheet over there. Those, I've been working on my packet for roses, working really hard because I wanted you to have a very good one. And you all will be getting this if you want it. And of course, I know this is upside down. I was not prepared for it to be upside down, so I'll get that fixed for sure. Whatever we have to do, that'll get fixed. But you see here, this is a form of an S stroke. S strokes are just, here are comma strokes, variations of comma strokes. They're called slices. So yes, to answer the question, you need brush strokes to paint beautiful roses and double loading as well. Now, I'm going to move to double loading real quick because I want you to listen to me and I want you to see it. And then I'm going to move on to another couple of flat brush strokes, and I'm just going to do maybe one round brush stroke and then get to the painting of the little folk art design.
Priscilla, before you start that, can I show you what I'm doing? Because I'm making all kinds of mistakes and I'm sure everybody wants to see how miserably I'm failing at this.
No, would you not use that word, please? We don't fail. Oh, Debbie, it's beautiful.
No, all the heads are too big. I'm having trouble with starting. The ending is fine. So if you see, when I start, I have a hard time getting a nice soft start.
Do you have a good brush that's forming a chisel edge?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then look what you're doing. You're turning it, you're turning it towards the side of your paper. Angle it to the corner of your paper. Angle it to the corner.
Okay, I just spotlighted your hand. I hope you're all enjoying this because I'm assuming you are all having the same kind of problems I'm having.
Yeah, we talked about this and
Priscilla, I hope that sometime soon after the class, you're able to see all of these comments. You've got people from Colombia and they're saying we didn't ever think we'd be able to take a class. You've just got love pouring in from all these people and there's nearly 300 of them.
Well, that's absolutely fabulous. And when I get this camera fixed, maybe Debbie will let me do this over again so that we're not working upside down. This is, you can't see what I want you to see. All right, I have a piece of paper here, a piece of cardboard. I'm going to come up even higher. Now, instead of, golly, I'm trying to get my hand out of the way for you. Breen, do you see any way that we can do that so my hand doesn't block the stroke and they can see it? Maybe. All right. Here is the corner. I want the brush, Debbie, and class to angle towards that corner. So I'll slide and then Debbie, gradual pressure on the stroke and then gradual lifting back up on the stroke and come towards the other corner down this way. You're angling the brush more to the side of the page. And therefore, you go back to the side. You want to go from corner to corner. And you want a gradual pressing and a gradual lifting of that brush.
Oh, this is so cool. I'm getting it. Now, can you sing The Rain in Spain? Because I can't sing, and we know you can.
Sing what?
The Rain in Spain. Whenever you accomplish something, you sing The Rain in Spain. Okay, never mind. But anyway, yes, I understand.
Right, George, I've got it. The rain in Spain. Da, 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 da,
Exactly.
da.
Thank you, Priscilla.
By George, she's got it. Let me see it. Let me see
You
it.
want to see what I've done?
Well, of course. I want to see.
Okay, these down here are much better.
No. They
Hang on.
look like penguins marching across the page, and that's very good, Debbie. Penguins are very nice.
I love
But
penguins. Elizabeth, stop laughing. Oh,
But-
this public humiliation.
but you want to go to the corner. Come back to me again.
Okay, here. So my brush should be like this. Or
Is it pointing towards the corner and not the side?
like that.
Okay.
Like
You
that?
see, I can't see either, but it has to definitely be toward the corner. Debbie, let me show you with a pencil and see if that will help.
Okay.
Go
Debbie,
back.
you have a fan that wants to know if you have wine nearby.
Oh, Lord knows I need it right about now. Hang on a second. I did the wrong thing. Okay.
Now, you are angling this way. This is an over exaggeration, but that's what you're doing instead of this. You go from corner to corner, corner to corner. You don't go from side to side.
Okay. Well, I'm going to mark that with my pencil so I can practice.
This is what you're doing right here.
Yep, it is.
You're not stretching it out this way.
I have more voluptuous S strokes. That's what it is.
Okay. I want to show double loading quickly, or side loading, carrying two colors on a brush. And I'm going to do it. Brenda, want to hand that little palette to me? I'm going to do it right here on this little palette, hoping that everyone can see it better. There's so many tips and little things that we can do. And I'll use a larger brush. I wanted to tell you all about the wet palette too, but I don't want to take so long. I don't often make positive statements, but I will tell you, if it weren't for the wet palette, I would not paint with acrylics, and that's a pretty positive statement. And perhaps in another lesson, I'll tell you about the palette. And I wanted to use some blue. All right, now everybody watch and make a few notes. I have a flat brush and I'm bouncing it. It's not very clean with the red in it. I'll clean that out in the brush basin. Now I'm going to walk the brush over, bounce it, make contact, and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have paint on one side of the brush, but not on the other side. Now, I'm going to come over to this blue, and Prussian blue is the color that gets all over you, up your nose, in your ears, and I won't say where I sat down on the toilet in Salt Lake City and found it years ago, but a few of you will remember that and know. All right, I've taken just the tiniest bit of Prussian blue, and now I'm going to make what I call a pod, P-O-D, and I want the dark color in the center and the light color to the outside. Dark color in the center, light color to the outside. Why? Because if I put the light color in the center and the dark to the outside, pretty soon I'd have my brush in that blue paint and I would mess up the double load or the side loaded brush. And the reason I counted was it takes many, many, many times brushing to get a brush this size full. This is, I think, probably a number 12 flat brush that I have here. Bounce it, 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 bounce it. And now I'm going to come back to another little piece of paper, and you watch here. I hope you can see. Gosh. Breen, do you see any way to move this camera so that my hand doesn't, they see the back of my hand? I don't understand that. That's just a continuous S stroke with the double loaded brush. And that's a beautiful way to make a border on something and then come in with comma strokes. Now, I'm going to come back to my palette and share this little bit of information with you. People that are learning to carry two colors of paint on their brush will often, now watch this, they'll accidentally not pay attention to what they're doing, and they'll put the white in the dark. And they immediately go to the water and clean the brush. You don't have to do that. All you have to do is take your rag and wipe it, because you've done such a nice job of double loading that brush. The white is still there, the blue is still there. You can come right back to your pod and pick right up again and carry on. Many, many people have a hard time side loading. And some little tips are, always take puddles of paint in proportion to the size of your brush. I think I mentioned this was probably a number 12 brush. This is probably, I don't know, a 4 or a 6. If I want to double load this brush, I'm not going to try to double load it up against that huge puddle of paint. I'm going to take, let's get some green. I'm going to take puddles of paint in proportion to the size of my brush. I'll touch my water. I like to dampen the brush. I don't want water in it, but I'll dampen it. Blot on my rag, and then stroke, stroke, stroke. Come over to the green, stroke, stroke, stroke. If you have a great huge puddle, it's just almost impossible to double load that brush. Now, working smaller with the camera higher, and I don't want to apologize. I really don't. Debbie and I practiced. We just didn't practice strokes. I was practicing with a liner brush, and I'm not even going to get to that this evening. We don't need to for roses, but I just want to show you this next stroke. And I'm going to start it with a larger brush. I'm going to use this little palette because I think you can see it better, and I can definitely see it better. So I'm going to take my lightest color first. Bounce it, bounce it, bounce it, bounce it, make contact, stroke, stroke, 1, 2, 3, 4, bounce, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to come over to this color. This is the burgundy over here. I'm trying to get it so that you can see. Pick up some burgundy. Come down here, make a pod. Now, I'm going to come back and put carefully, because I'm not going to take the time to move this paint to a different location. But I'm bouncing, bouncing, really filling that brush good and full of paint. Okay, now I'll come back over here, and this is the next stroke. Stand the brush on the chisel edge, handle point straight up toward the ceiling, slide, gradual pressure, gradual lift. I'm going to reverse that. In your packets, those of you that got the packets, you have a really great worksheet for brush strokes, and I'll show you what to do with that here in just a minute. Okay, again, stand the brush on the flat edge, slide, pressure, and lift. And then we do double loaded comma strokes. I beg you to practice your double loading. I beg you to make the pod. I beg you to practice brush strokes. Let me see here, Debbie, if I can pull this worksheet out of this packet quickly. You want to just go ahead and step here and take that off. This is the worksheet that I provided for you in your packet. And what you can do, there's the original worksheet. And the brush strokes and the double loading are all on here. And what you can do is take a plastic bag or a piece of just anything clear. Well, it was right here in this drawer where I could easily reach it. And it's not there now. So I'm just going to fake it. You want to cut that off and just give me the piece of cellophane, please. If you have the plastic sheet dividers, you can slip your worksheet inside of a plastic sheet divider and then wipe it with alcohol, and that will let the paint flow better, and it's just to practice on. Okay, Breen came up with a clear piece of cellophane here. So just put your cellophane down, and then this is the best thing I can do to hold your hand and guide your hand when you're doing a brush stroke. And just practice doing that over and over and over and over. I'm actually sort of painting upside down right now, but that's fine. And I want you to do these half circle strokes that are down here at the bottom as well. And I want you to do it with two colors on the brush, like so. And this is just a great, great way to practice with this worksheet. And it really bothers me that I can't get to your questions. I want to show you one more thing right here, just real quick.
Except for we do have Elizabeth watching, and I am looking at the questions.
I am watching, and there are not very many questions. And if there are some people like the fabulous Chris Williams who are answering sometimes before I can get to it.
Exactly. I noticed that too. Chris, thank you for being an admin today. We love you.
That's great. Okay, now I've just put down a dot of color. Now I'm just going to make that U stroke over the dot of color. I'm going to come in here and make that other U stroke like so. And what do we have? Just a little open rosebud. And then if we fill the brush with the green and a little bit of umber, which I don't have any umber, so I'll fake some umber, mixing a little burgundy on the brush with maybe, we'll pretend that's umber. But look what I can do with the S strokes. I'll just come around like this and I'll make a little U stroke right here. I'll make a little U stroke right here. I'll make another little U stroke right there. And I'll make another little U stroke right here, and one right in the center. And then I'm going to make an S stroke, touch, press, and lift up on that chisel edge. Touch, press, and lift up on that chisel edge. Just making S strokes all the way around, even making it down the middle, and using S strokes, I've made the bracts of a rosebud. And that's just quickly showing you a little something that can be done with the brush strokes and the double loading that I have showed you. And that's why it is so important. Also, when I get to leaves with you, they're basic brush strokes: touch, swing, flat edge, pull, roll, and stop. I'd love to do a whole lesson on nothing but leaves. Leaves can be done in 2 strokes. I think Donna Dewberry probably does a 2-stroke leaf. And again, that's just a little bit of a U at the bottom, then touch, press, and lift to a point. Come to the other side, touch, press. Here we go with the S stroke again, and lift to a point. And we add the colors that we need to in the middle, and that paints a little 2-stroke leaf. And oh, I love to do leaves. And I brought some other things to show you that are stroke flowers, just so that you'd start to understand how important geraniums, those are all little variations of comma strokes done there, and so much fun to do. And
Priscilla, we have a question. It's why make the tiny U's and not just do the S stroke? It seems to cover the U's anyway.
Oh, on the rosebud?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, let me show you why. On this one, get a pointer here. Because the U creates the shadow at the base of each one of the bracts. Can you see? Someone answer me.
I can see it.
The shadow, that's the reason.
Yes.
If I just do, if I just come in and do, get a different brush here. If I just come in and do an S stroke like this, turn it around. You always want to turn to be as comfortable as you can. And I know that camera is too far away now. And then come over here and make an S stroke, and then you fill in the middle. You don't have that pretty shadow that is often needed at the base of a leaf. And there's the shadow, and there's one stroke. I'm off.
That's just amazing, Priscilla.
And here is the other stroke, and that just puts a little shadow at the base of a little 2-stroke leaf like that. I know it's not in very good focus. And when you do those little bitty bracts, and you know, I start to get into a rose lesson, but it's also closely related because strokes are what the rose and the leaves and the buds are all about. But if I have a rose bud, trying to find a place. If I have a rose bud right here, and that's painted, and then I want to do the bracts around. Let me get a little, here's a little asphaltum that will work. I've got to get to the tavern sign too. Are we way over on time, Debbie?
You're doing okay. We're about at the hour mark, but I already told you that whatever time you need, we will
Yes.
go with.
Good. I love that.
There is also a question about the beginning of a stroke rose, and how you start it. They're excited for the rose class.
You're talking about a brush stroke, right?
Well, it's a typed question, so I'm assuming so, yes.
Okay.
It says, I want to start the stroke of a rose.
Well, she's not asking me enough. I guess she's just asking me about the U stroke like that.
I would think so. I'll watch for the comments if she wants some more.
She's going to have to give me more detail if she doesn't mind, please, on what she's talking about.
Sounds
Plus,
good.
we also have to remember that today's lesson is about basic strokes. This is not about creating roses. Priscilla, with her enthusiasm, was showing you all that you can do with these strokes. Next month, on the 11th, that's when Priscilla will be teaching us all about roses.
And listen, I'll have this camera thing figured out. I'll work on it until I get it figured out. Okay, let's come here. This is a rosebud, but I can't find it. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There it is. And I'm practically painting off the table, but that's okay. Okay, so here I go with a U stroke. And we'll pretend like that rosebud is painted. And here I go with another U stroke. And here I go with another U stroke. And here I go with another U stroke. Double loaded, U stroke. Then, and you were asking, you know, a basic leaf, a 2-stroke leaf, and a rose bract, they're very similar. So now it's just the matter of painting a wonderful S stroke up on the chisel edge. And can you see now how pretty the shadows are at the base of that? And of course I do white on the other side and blend. But the question I was trying to answer was, why do you do a U stroke at the bottom rather than just the 2 S strokes? So that you put a lovely little shadow at the base. And I don't have anything with just basic leaves here right now, but we almost always have lovely shadows, and I'll teach all of this, and leaves and the different values and so on and so forth. It's just absolutely fabulous. Okay, I'm going to stop doing this for a minute. You do have, I think, lovely notes in your packets. And let's see, where are my boards?
Priscilla, while you're getting set, there's a question, and the question reads, on the tavern board, why did you have us put a coat of sealer after we painted the warm white and before applying the pattern?
Because I wasn't using, this is where we get into different types of paint and what they do. And I believe some of the folk art paints contain sealers, but I like just the original folk art, paint. That was the one that I was in on the design of and got to work with the chemists. And so I was afraid that this cream paint would be too porous. And I'm still trying to get the camera up high enough for you to see what's going to happen. Look, I'm clear off the table. Can we do something, Breen? That helps tremendously.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I painted this one with a cream, a pretty cream color, or I could have stained it. This isn't complete. I just wanted to show you it could be stained and the edge darkened. And these are all wonderful treatments that we can do. And again, depending upon how much Debbie wants me, how much you want me, I can teach all of these things. And I would not do a tulip with one side red, one side yellow, although I don't know, that's kind of sexy. But anyway, I just wanted you to see color combinations there. So that's why the back of that was painted. And then after I sealed it, I put my, let you move some of this stuff out of the way. I transferred my design, and I think probably, you know what would happen if I sat on the other side of the table? I'm not going to do it now. I think that's might be the answer, Breen.
That could be. Priscilla, we'll work on this and you'll be able to sit right where you're at. I know exactly what to do to make. Yeah.
Okay, now I've put my naphtha red, my beautiful folk art naphtha red out. And I know you don't, I know some of you are so new and I think the history of things are so much fun. I've actually been with Plaid almost from its very beginning and have had the joy of doing all sorts of wonderful, wonderful things with the company. And I love them all dearly. And I love the products. And when Debbie called me, she wanted me to teach you about different products and a wonderful new paint that we have. She wanted me to get into color theory. And I was so excited. And I went to bed that night and I thought, good God in heaven, she's talking about hours and hours and hours of classes, which would be wonderful. And you know, I don't care. I celebrate my 81st birthday in March. And so I love doing this. If we can get the camera worked out, and Debbie says we will. Okay, then I'll just teach as much as you want. Come hand me that hair dryer, Breen.
Priscilla,
Okay.
are these multi-surface folk art paints?
No, no, these are just the original formula folk art paints. I hope this isn't a multi-surface. I'm looking for the bottle to show you, and I don't want to pull up the wrong thing.
So I wanted to say that while Priscilla is looking for her paints, you see that Priscilla's answering you. And Janet just revealed that she is Priscilla's assistant. So that's why she's been answering you. So we have so many people here helping, and we thank all of you who are here helping with all of this. So Priscilla, do you have all your paints there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, magically, that's dried. I've put another coat on it. That's dried. I undercoated a couple of great big S strokes, and you have, I think you have wonderful step-by-steps in your packet, but I have to learn from Debbie too. I think she puts this, is this going to be up for them to watch over again, Debbie?
Yes, when I stream live, once we're all done, it turns into a video. And then what I will do is I will put it in units in the group. And I'll start one just for Priscilla. So when you go to units, you'll look under Priscilla's lessons.
Okay, now this is my wonderful container for my blending gel. And blending gel, oh gosh, I tried to talk Plaid into letting me do a little video for them teaching 20 different things you can do with blending gel, because there's so many wonderful things that can be done with it. But for right now, we're just going to use it to keep the paint wet so that I can shade my ball flower form. And I love to show off my little compact, and I don't do lettering. I know Andy doesn't do lettering either. Chris does lettering, and Debbie does beautiful lettering. I watched her snowman the other day, and I loved the lettering that she did. But I'm not very good at lettering. But Ken Brown did the engraving on this compact, and I've had this compact probably 25 or 30 years, and it holds my blending gel, and it's traveled all over the world with me. Okay, now on my palette, I have the Napsal Crimson, and I have some True Burgundy. And to the True Burgundy, I've added just a little bit of black. I had an email just about 2 hours before time to go on, and she needed help with substituting colors, and there just wasn't time for me to do that at that particular moment and do that for her. The one thing that I can say is she asked about the color asphaltum. You really can't mix an asphaltum. I can teach you to mix all kinds of things, and I can come pretty close with an asphaltum. But anyway, I'll get her taken care of when I have time. Now,
Priscilla, to interrupt you, I'm sorry.
it's all right.
There's a question, and I'm going to ask it a little bit differently. What's the difference between the floating medium and the gel medium? Because I know the gel medium has a thicker viscosity.
Yes, it does. And again, like the blending gel, there's probably 20 different things. But let me just say, to make it simple, that the blending gel has an extender in it. And that means when I put this down on here, and I put it on with a brush, but I'll put it on with my finger, and that's going to let me piddle and play. I don't want to piddle and play, but if I wanted to, it would keep my paint wet. So let's just say that the blending gel is an extender. The floating medium originally was developed to float, and I just don't have time, as much as I wish I did, to demonstrate them. But I will at some point in time as I go along with these classes. And let me say to you too, I don't know how many of you watched the Let's Paint program with Plaid, but they are using these products as well. You see my glasses? Yes. And the plaid line is so incredible. Debbie did a wonderful interview with Chris Williams, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful thing. And Chris talked a lot about the different products. And when I'm not painting with, I'm not using the gel right now. I could have floated that on instead of blended it on, but I don't want to confuse you. And that's one of my problems. I have too much knowledge for an hour and a half class. I will overteach, and I want you to get it. So those of you that are painting along with me, whether you're painting on cardboard or whatever you're painting on, and I like for you just to go ahead. See how I'm just blending that white in, and I can do that because of the blending gel, which has the extender. And I can just blend using a light touch and make that smooth and just add a little bit of highlight on that ball and bring it, the original one. Do you know where it is? Oh, good. There's the original one, and you can see the white in over here and the dark shading that I have on. So you'll undercoat, and when you do it on paper, I'll pull this out of the trash. Y'all will laugh. This was where I was practicing earlier, and this is just, it's not illustration board. I don't know what this is, but it's just a nice paper to paint on, as you can see. And I was practicing all the things that I was going to teach you. And you don't have to undercoat when you're on paper. You don't have to put 2 coats on the way I did here. So after you have your ball dry, and by the way, that ball can be any color, then you want to shade it with your dark, your burgundy plus a little black, or there's a color, I think it's called black cherry, and it's a very, very dark, beautiful shading color. And I highlighted with a little white, and there's also a little part down here, the base of the little ball flower, that's done the very same way that you can see. Then I want to talk to you about a round brush, and that is just so, so important. This brush, Randy, won't get the paint off those other brushes, please. I tossed brushes over there a minute ago and threw them into my palette. This brush is probably...
Priscilla, you just went black. Bree, her phone just went black.
Okay.
They need to try.
Hang on, everyone.
Yes, it does. It's low battery. Okay.
Okay,
Just a second here.
just unplug that one
Yes, ma'am.
and plug it in. We'll be back in business. Just bring it around, I think, if it...
So now I can tease Priscilla and say, this is something I tried to teach Priscilla, and I told her she needed to have her phone plugged in.
We have the iPad
And
plugged in.
the iPad clipped in. Okay.
Are we back at this?
Okay, let's see if we get her back.
Okay.
Well, you may have to, I don't know that this has happened before, where you may have, there we go, yay.
Okay, very good. Okay, I was talking about this 40-year-old brush. It's fabulous. It's a Raphael. Back years ago when I was selling them, it was $25. Just for fun, before teaching this class, I looked it up. I Googled it, and it's $50. But this, and I'm not telling you to buy a $50 brush. Good Lord, I've got another brush over here to back it up. I don't know how much this is. This is a low Cornell. We have wonderful brushes available, but you want to be picky and make sure they're well made. And I even had over here a brush to show you, and I hope I have the name of it all covered up so that you couldn't see. But I was going to show you a comma stroke, and this happens to so many people when they start painting round brush comma strokes. I'm just going to paint on this because it's here and it's easy. All right, please misperform for me. This brush continued to misperform for me. With the round brush, you touch, you apply pressure, you begin to pull, and you lean to the inside edge, just like you did with the flat, and you lift and you drag to a point. And what this brush constantly did was what you see right here.
Priscilla, there's a question. What size brush are you using?
This is a 3.
And in case it was for the other one, what size was the one that you have had for many years?
It's a 3.
Okay, thank you.
And of course, now this brush is just going to behave. No, there. See what it did? See it kick? And this happens with lots of round brushes that you buy. And the student thinks they're making the mistake, and they aren't. It is the brush. So can you, without it being too much trouble, put the camera back on me?
Absolutely.
Okay. And I'll ask all of you to put your hand up like this with all your fingers together and pretend like there's a piece of glass out in front of you. And you're going to touch against that glass and you're going to apply pressure to the brush and the hairs are going to spread. And then you start to lean to the inside edge of the brush, lifting and dragging to the point. It's touch, press, lean to the inside edge, pulling and dragging to a point. And there's a straight stroke too, where you touch, press, you start to pull and lift, the hairs come back together, pull and lift, and then you have to turn it slightly to the left or slightly to the right. You'll see that flag wave to get a point. So I was thrilled to death to see that my Raphael brush was still working. And in the manufacturing, I had the joy of watching the best brush makers in the world make brushes. And they have to know they're skilled artists, especially with round brushes and liners around brushes. And they have to have every hair tucked in just perfectly so that when you're painting and making strokes, those hairs come back together. So I know you can't go into a store and say, may I paint with a brush? But I think it's a good idea to, if it's a really expensive brush, to say, if this brush doesn't perform, could I return it and exchange it for another one? If you're in a really good art store, they're really going to help you out. That's another subject. I won't go there. Okay, I am going to go back to my ball flower form though, and I'm going to fill a good round brush with the dark burgundy color. It can be black cherry. It can be burgundy plus a touch of black to make it be a black cherry. And then I'm going to make these comma strokes on the side. And here we go. Touch, press, lift, and drag, lift, and drag. And I know, we're back now. So
Okay, there we go.
I'll lift up. Hopefully we can.
Okay, Bree's going to need to help you with your camera.
Yeah, I think so, because it was showing my shirt rather than the flat surface.
There you go. Perfect. Thank you, Bree.
All right, we'll come to the other side and touch, apply pressure, lift and drag, no twisting or turning, leaning to the inside edge to form a point. And we'll come out to the side. And I chose a couple of very simple little designs like this, stroke designs, because I think you get tired of doing page after page after page of brush strokes. When I was teaching my 5-day seminars, and I did for years and years, I taught from 8 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon, and then they had homework assignments, pages of brush strokes they had to bring back the next day for critiquing. And of course, a lot of you probably aren't that serious about that, and you're probably thinking, I would never do that. But I want to tell you something, and I say this to you from the bottom of my heart. As many people paint today, and it is greatly loved today because of all of those seminars through all of those years and all of those incredible pages of brushstrokes. And it got everybody started. We had all the wonderful individual shops then, and we didn't have the big box stores at all. It's just quite incredible to have lived long enough to have seen all these things happen through the years. And I love your questions. It kills me not to be able to answer them, but will I get to see the questions at any time? I know you said there probably weren't too many questions.
We've had quite a few comments and quite a few questions, and I will instruct you how to go and see them after you're done teaching, Priscilla. You'll be able to see what everyone has said.
Very good. I will like that very much. Okay, now I have, let's see, I have a great big brush here. I probably have about a 14 or maybe a 16 that I have done, and I'm doing this way because I think you can see better. Ordinarily, I'd stroke from the top down to the bottom to do these strokes, but I undercoated and dried these strokes as well. I'm going to take just a little bit of blending gel, and you have to be careful about blending gel. You can use too much of it, and that isn't a good thing. Sometimes, especially with stroke, I'll just dampen the undercoat a little bit. Now I'm double loading my big brush with a light green and a dark green, actually a medium. I think it's a classic green, and kind of a sap green, because I want, when I go back over this stroke, I want to shade. Now, Debbie, what is the consistency of my paint right now?
What do you mean, what is the consistency of your paint right now? Well, it's thinned because you've been pressing on the wet palette.
Well, that's not the reason it's thin, though. It's thin because when we do stroke work, it has to be a thin, flowing consistency. Right?
Correct, just like line work, so I can understand that. I'm interpreting, this is just like speaking two different languages, and so as you're talking, I'm interpreting it into what I know.
Okay. Okay, well, we're going to have a conversation about that sometime. A fascinating conversation. Now, you see how I've just shaded with my double loaded brush. And I'm just going to go ahead, since I have the brush double loaded. I think on the other piece, I probably have this done in another color. But you've got a beautiful full-size picture in your pattern. And then I took a smaller brush and a lighter green, and because I don't want to go too long and lose people, I'm just mixing a little bit of white into the green that I have. And I've picked up a 6 flat brush, and I'm just going to come in, and while it's wet, I'm just going to overstroke like that. And I'll do the same thing over here. And then, and you choose your brush sizes, of course, to the size of the stroke. I just happen to have picked up an 8 right here. And I've got another S stroke to paint right there. And I've double loaded and I'm shading that S. Then I'm going to start in, and I'm going to pull my palette over here so that you can see. Okay, I'm going to take my palette knife. Bryn, you want to grab some more white paint? There it is right there. I did it. I took a black and white picture on my copy machine. I put this painted finished piece on the copy machine, and I wanted to see my values because I wanted to show you how neat it was to make copies if you have a copy machine and you can see all the different values, the light, medium, and dark values. And I did this comma stroke to be dark, and this one more a little medium, and then this one lighter. And you can see that in your finished photograph that you have in the packet. And you can see how I graduated the values down there. And I tell you about that in the packet, but here, because of time on my palette, I'm just going to take some white and use the dark green mixture that I have here. And I'm going to mix the 3 values so that I have a dark, a medium, and a light. And that's pretty light, so I think I'll let that be the light one. I'll come over here and take some of this paint and just a little bit of white and mix it in to have a medium value. Why am I doing that? Just to have a variation in color. It won't be as boring. It will be more interesting. And I pretty well have there the dark, the medium, and the light. So I'm going to come back to my round brush. And I have no idea if you're painting along with me. Some of you, of course, know your brush strokes very, very well. And you're probably painting way ahead of me. And others of you really need to practice and practice and practice and learn to do the brush strokes. So I'm filling my round brush good and full, and I'm going to try to paint upside down, and I don't know whether I can do that or not. Touch, apply pressure, lift, and drag to a point. Could you see that any better, Debbie?
It looks beautiful, and you can even paint strokes upside down. So for the sake of the camera, everyone, Priscilla is doing this totally upside down.
That's right.
I bet you she could even stand on her head and do this.
Yes, I have done that before almost. About 500 students, maybe 300, I don't remember. It was huge. It was a convention, and they were supposed to have the big video cameras and all of that, and they didn't show up. And I had all these people and all these products, and where's the finished one, Sabrina? And all these things to do, and nothing. So I stood on a round table, and I had two of my helpers get on the round table with me, and one of them held my palette, and I actually did brush strokes the way that I had you do them. Touch, press, lift, and drag to a point, and I painted them with my hands, and taught the lesson. Oh, I guess it was about halfway through that they got there with the video camera and everything else. But yeah, I could tell some incredible stories about wonderful, interesting things that have been challenged through the years. Okay, now there are 4 comma strokes in the dark color there. And originally, I painted this flat brush stroke S-type border in yellow ochre. And I don't know if you can look and see the little quips of yellow ochre here and there on it or not. And so then I antiqued it because there was a lot of extra space and I didn't want to add more strokes. And the antiquing completely covered up most of the yellow ochre. So I came back with the black and did the ribbon border. Then, because my hand does tremble so much, you want to hand me that little picture? Hand me the whole picture because I want to show them too. I love Adenta pens, and on days when I'm relatively steady, I can use an Adenta pen to write with, or you can stencil, or you can transfer a pattern, or we can get Debbie or Chris to teach lettering, or a real treat would be if we could get Ken Brown, the calligrapher, to come and show us brushstroke lettering. Oh, he is just to die for. Okay, now I'm going to stop right here. Breen, I have a little list over there, and let me check it to see that I have. Can I kind of show them what I want to do for the 3rd class?
Do you want me to spotlight you right now or your hands?
I'm going to say spotlight me.
All righty then.
With the camera right in front. I love it. Okay, now I'm going to show you what I hope will be our 3rd lesson. I'm having so much fun planning these lessons, and this won't be the actual piece, no way, but we will do one of these roses and some leaves on a wonderful surface, and I want to try to get this. Let's see, let me move the camera out this way and see what happens.
That is so beautiful.
This is Jostova, and I love Jostova. Originally, Jostova was done in oils, and I talked to Debbie about doing some oils, but I think I'll probably teach this one in acrylics. And I had the great joy of traveling to Russia when I teach the Jostova class. I will tell the whole story of going to Russia and bringing 7 artists over to this country, all the art material manufacturers and the craft magazines and people pitched in, and we raised enough money to bring 7 of the Showstop artists over to this country, and we introduced them to the Society of Decorative Painters Convention within Philadelphia that year. And what a magnificent time in the history of painting in this country that was. Well, I since I can't see what anybody's doing, I don't know whether to go further with brush strokes or not.
I think that unless you have things that you haven't taught yet, we are almost approaching 2 hours, Priscilla.
Oh, good.
And so I think that we can stop for now if you'd like, and let me come back on board with all 4 of us.
That's fine. Well, I just want to thank Breen and, oh my God, Debbie, how incredible she has been, and her helpers, and my Janet. And, just to get set up this well took about 5 people to help me get ready for this. And I won't take the time to say all their names, but people have just been fabulous to help me get ready to do this. And I think we have a little more work to do to get all the way there, but we will do it.
And a big thank you to my husband, because as we were talking one day about Priscilla, it was really his idea to have her come in and do a series. And so I thank you, my husband, William, because even though he's not a painter, he recognizes the genius within Priscilla. And I am just so thankful that she agreed to do this. And what a good spirit, learning all about this technology just so she can share her joy of painting with you. Thank you so much, Priscilla, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Well,
thank you all for joining us tonight. And Lisbeth, thank you for helping. And now, did you have something else you wanted to do, Priscilla? You had mentioned something about a giveaway.
we do. We have a surprise. We have a giveaway, and it's a wonderful giveaway of the paint that I love, the original folk art formula paint. And at least that's what I think it is. I know everybody knows that everybody has had such a tough time with paint and everything with COVID. Everybody has just struggled to keep everything going. And but we will have a gift for someone of some wonderful paint. And you'll have to tell me how that works.
Okay, well, what we decided what we were going to do is we're going to have you pick a number. But at this point, we don't know how many comments we've had. Lisbeth, do you have any a range approximately of how many comments we've had?
Right now, my screen says 534, but they're coming on very rapidly.
Right. Okay. So maybe, Priscilla, you should pick a number between 1 and 540.
I have it.
You have it? What's your number?
11.
11. So Lisbeth, if you can tell us number 11, and I'm going to go and page down to the bottom too and see if I come up with the same name as you. Is the initials DC?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I am so excited. Go ahead and announce it, Lisbeth. Wait.
No, you go ahead.
No, I'm going to have you do it. You've been here helping us.
I lost it. No, you please do it.
Okay. Okay, drum roll, everyone. The winner of this happens to be someone I know, and she lives near us, or near me. Her name's Denise Chavez. And so I'm so excited for Denise. And I know she's going to be very excited to get the goodies. And I will get the information of where to ship this.
That's great. And Plaid will be sending it. May I say one closing thing?
Absolutely. And let me spotlight you before we go.
Okay. I had to show this, and I kind of got twisted and turned around with camera direction. And I wish you could really see this close. This is the very first piece of pen Dutch that I ever painted years ago, and I did it all with a round brush. I didn't even own a flat brush. We did everything with round brushes, and I couldn't afford to buy a round brush. I think I was about 20 or 21 and pregnant, and my mother bought the brush and sent it to me. And I took a class at the YWCA, and this was that piece of pen Dutch. And I want you all to remember, always, with brush in hand, my mind empties of its sorrows, and the beauty in life smiles. Please keep laughing, and above all, keep painting and practice those strokes.
Thank you all. And we'll wish you all a good evening. And thank you again, Priscilla.